Hello, my name is Eric Lopez, and this is my critical analysis of the EDA 578 critical issues, Module 5 data analysis with school set number 6. So, why understand disproportionality in schools? I have three main reasons. First of all, it ensures that all students will receive equitable access to education. Second, to understand the disproportionality in schools makes you aware of the school to prison pipeline, where students who are suspended are 3 times more likely to enter the juvenile justice system. And once they set foot in the juvenile justice system, they're 50% more likely to wind up as adult offenders. And finally, by not addressing the disproportionality in school discipline, we are literally robbing our society of the potential that these students could possibly make by by uninvesting in these children. We are teaching them that they're not important, and in doing so, they do not fulfill their full potential and become the brain surgeons or the NASA astronauts or the scientists or the mathematicians or the wonderful parents in the world that we know they can be. Here is the data for school number 6. This data comes from a Arizona school, and the information has been slightly skewed to match the representations. The only thing of note that I see that could possibly skew data is that it does not account if one student is responsible for multiple offenses and how that would throw off any ratios with regards to race. This is done through a comparative analysis of student population and number of suspensions. All right, when making that comparative analysis, we see some major groups that have a disproportionality with regards to how they are reflected in their suspensions. First and foremost, we see our blacks that have almost a 3 times occurrence compared to their population numbers at 18.8% and 6.4% respectively. When we look at Hispanic populations that have 75% of the overall population, we see an occurrence of 52.2%. And while this is wonderful that we see this group going down in the number of suspensions, we don't want more. We do know that because it's percentages, those numbers are going somewhere. Multiple race students have an increase almost fourfold of 2.8% to 13%. And males see an overwhelming occurrence of suspensions compared to their female counterparts at almost a 4-to-1 ratio. Students with disability increased by almost 60%, and that is a significant number, although it's certainly not something that we're going to be immediately concerned about with regards to its specific numbers, but we do want to keep an eye on the underlying causes for that. So, our black students saw the highest disproportionate increase in suspensions when compared to population. In fact, the increase was almost 3 times that of their population percentages. Hispanic students saw an overall drop in their percentages when compared to population out-of-school suspensions. And while we want to celebrate those students following the rules and being their best selves, once again, when dealing with percentages, the numbers must go somewhere. Multiracial students saw the second highest disproportionate increase in suspensions when compared to the population. And that increase was almost 5 times that of their population percentages as it moved up from just under 3 to 13%. And once again, males were greatly over represented at 82% of the suspensions when compared to their just under 50% of the population. And female suspensions were 4 times less likely than male suspensions. Students with disabilities saw an increase in suspensions when compared to the population by a factor of almost 60%. So in conclusion, the data from the school indicates that students are being disproportionately suspended in various demographic groups, with Black and multiracial students seeing the highest percentage of negative disproportion. The 2 different population groups identified, I will make separate hypotheses in lieu of the differences between the groups and their possible reasons for being disproportionately um, prone to get out of school suspensions. So with that said, the data does not note whether any student had multiple suspensions, which would cause a slight skew in the data when compared to population statistics. So for the Black students, the less than obvious reason for this is an unconscious implicit bias against African American students. This bias results from cultural and media influences that are well entrenched in our society, and now stereotypes are so entrenched that sometimes they're even made unintentionally and perpetrated by some of the largest corporations. For our multiracial students, we want to remember that no group is a monolith, and this is especially true of the multiracial group, whose only true commonality is that they're made up of two or more predominant cultures. Um, I don't want to speculate, but as a person who myself identifies as multiracial, I can say that being in this group, I often lacked a sense of belonging. Like I was never enough for one side, while simultaneously not being enough for the other. This sense of lacking a caring community could be a contributing factor to the increase in this population's disproportionate suspension numbers. Once again, my name is Eric Lopez, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to this analysis. Have a wonderful day.